particularly back then, it was very much about the personalized nutrition. I think when I was studying, I actually won an award for nutrition, but I'd spend hours and hours creating meal plans and menu plans and things like that for people, and looking at their nutritional status. And there was a huge amount of work and science behind that. And so when I was looking for something else, there were so many generic plans out there, but that kind of didn't sit well with me in terms of, I guess, nutrition, naturopathy. Everybody is different, everyone is unique, and therefore their nutrition and their nutritional plans need to do that as well. So when I came across Metabolic Balance, and it believed so much, I mean, the whole emphasis on personalized nutrition, it just, yeah, it resonated immediately. So
Yeah.
that's what first, I think, attracted me.
You were relatively newly qualified back in 2017, weren't you?
That's right, yes. I'd come in as a mature student and had done my naturopathy, nutrition and Western herbal medicine qualification, and so had been only in practice a few months. So it was I remember at the time it was a huge kind of like, oh my gosh, is this right? And is this, financially you're again outlaying when you haven't really recouped your initial training costs. But in hindsight, it was the best decision I think I'd made for my clinic.
It was quite a leap of faith, actually, wasn't it, back then?
It's
Because
very fair to say it was a massive leap of faith.
really new to Australia, and you were the first practitioner in Western Australia to bring.
Yeah, so that was really exciting as well, because there was no one over here doing this. And again, it was financially, it was a huge commitment, because not only was it the training fees, but then I always had to have accommodation and flights and things like that. So again, from WA, it was a bigger cost. But I think the more I researched, the more I looked into it, the more conversations I had, the more I believed this really was the right way to go. But yeah, it was still a bit unknown, because we were the first training group in the whole of Australia. So, we were all stepping out in a leap of faith. You'd obviously been doing it for years back in the UK, but for us here in Australia, it was a big leap of faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, it was wonderful when you came on board. And so can you sort of share what Metabolic Balance has actually done for your practice?
I think for my practice, I think the results for clients has got to be first and foremost. Just seeing such amazing clients coming through, and it's a whole range of things. So I think initially I felt it was much more weight loss approach, which was just a wrong belief on my part, really, because it's across the board. So things like fibromyalgia, one of my most beautiful patients, she has suffered for years and years, 10 years with severe fibromyalgia on numerous medications and things like that. Within a couple of months of being on MB, she'd managed to ditch her medications and literally just on a magnesium and one other supplement, and managing her life really, really well with MB. And that's how she manages now. And it just shows the key of how nutrition plays a massive role in underlying health conditions and putting that first and foremost.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So 3 years on from actually, obviously, first bringing Metabolic Balance in, how do you use Metabolic Balance now?
I think for me now, I think I've gained in so much confidence with using Metabolic Balance. So I have a lot of weight loss clients, which is not an area it's an area I wanted to avoid first and foremost, but it's an area that people seem to be attracted to me for that. I use it a lot with any hormonal conditions, whether that's male or female hormonal conditions. Diabetes in particular is an area that I seem to get a lot of referrals from. But actually, I use it as an underlying plan for most conditions that come through. For most people, if you can get their nutrition right first and foremost, then a lot of other things fall into place. And it also means that I'm much less dependent on supplementation or herbals or those kind of things. So actually, in the longer term, if you're educating your patients correctly, educating them in the right nutrition, it's something that they can follow through for life. They're not dependent on me as a practitioner. They're not dependent on having lots of expensive supplements and things like that. It just gives them their health back. And that's what I love. So I think educating them in their nutrition and around their health, I think seeing the health benefits. I think from a clinic perspective, in terms of administration, etc., I think it's helped me to streamline my practice really well, so I can be more efficient, I guess, in those areas. I'm not spending as much research time that I was spending prior to doing MB in my practice. And, you know, I think a lot of people don't see the amount of hours that we spend behind the scenes, researching and preparing and things like that. So I think in that sense, I use Metabolic Balance to get started with people, and often a lot of their health resolves, so we don't have to do as much as we would have previously done without MB. So I think in that sense, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think another big thing is that I get a lot of word of mouth referrals. So I don't advertise at all. Everything is done via word of mouth now. And I think that's throughout Australia as well. It isn't just within Western Australia.
So finally, is there any of the words of advice as a, you know, experienced metabolic balance practitioner to either somebody who's thinking of bringing MB into their practice, or even a newly qualified MB practitioner? Is there anything that you would share, just as a little nutshell?
I think understanding that nutrition is key, and really for us as naturopaths or nutritionists, that having that personalized nutrition, you just can't do better for your clients. And if I've ever done a generic plan, people have gone back to MB. So I don't even offer that anymore, because having that personalized nutrition is really key. It can streamline your practice, so it saves a lot for you in terms of your research and admin time as well. And it's so worth the benefits that you see with your clients. So getting those ongoing referrals, because people are really happy with what they've received and what they gain from their health. So in that sense, you get ongoing referrals and ongoing business. So I wouldn't hesitate to make that same decision again. So it was the best decision, I think, for my clinic and for my patients that I've ever made for my clinic.
That's wonderful. That's a pretty good endorsement there. The best decision. Love that.
Yeah,
I agree. And
say that lightly either. It's
I look back years ago and I put it in, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I glad that I took that decision, because I just
yeah, and it's, you just look beyond anything else really, in terms of what do you want for your practice, what do you want for your patients, and you know, you want the best, and that's what I've gone for. Reach for the stars for them, and yeah, it's certainly made a huge difference for us. So
yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Jane. I really do appreciate that.